Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we dive in, I want to take a second to talk about Penny. At Penny, we know agents don't lose business because of a lack of opportunity. They lose it because life insurance takes time, paperwork, and follow up. And that's exactly why the Penny A Team exists. The A Team is our in house group of licensed life insurance specialists who handle everything behind the scenes once an agent introduces a client. From the first conversation through underwriting and policy issue, our team manages the entire process end to end. So, what does that mean? That means we run the client conversation, we complete applications and paperwork, we manage underwriting and carrier follow ups, and we track every case and keep it moving. So agents stay focused on what they do best, selling, advising, and growing their book, not chasing forms or status updates. This isn't outsourcing, it's an extension of your practice supported by purpose-built tools and systems that keep cases organized, compliant, and moving fast. And the result is simple: more policies issued, more time back in your day, and a smoother experience for your clients. And now I'll pass the mic over to David. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. And Chris, thank you so much, man. That's well put. That's exactly what we do. We support you, the independent agent in the field. And I always like to think of it as picture an office building, brick and mortar, full of people, and your name is on the front of the building. That's us. So that's what we do, and appreciate that. Thank you so much, Chris. And let's get into today's presentation, which is Understanding Indexed Universal Life, balancing growth, opportunity, and protection. Mostly just a IUL 101. So we're going to dive into it, give you the very basics. First off, though, I do want to point out that this is one of our educational series webinars, and we do webinars most Thursdays. Please look for those, attend. Very useful. Everybody's getting something out of it. They've gone very well and continue to do so, I hope. So an agent overview of IULs. Again, we're going to take a high level view of these and just go over it. And I'm going to tell you about a couple different ways to approach it so that you can keep it simple, approach your clients with confidence and present an IUL, even if you're fairly new at it. So it's permanent life insurance with a flexible design. We'll get into some of those elements, but most of it is flexible. We can run illustrations in any way you see fit, whatever approach you want to bring to it, or your client, more importantly, wants to bring to it, we could probably achieve that and present it. Combines death benefit protection with index linked accumulation. Important that it's index linked. It's not necessarily at all invested in the index itself, but it mirrors the performance of the index to a degree, which gives you cash accumulation and security. And designed properly, it can support protection and supplemental income. Typically, it's meant for cash accumulation, where you use that cash later on in retirement to supplement retirement. A great way to do that on a tax-free basis, which we'll get into as well. The core components of an IUL: death benefit protection. Obviously, it's life insurance, has to be by design and by definition. Cash value accumulation tied to an index. We touched on that briefly. Tied to, not invested in, an index performance. So it is not investment, and it's safer. Flexible premiums and adjustable death benefit options. So again, very flexible product. You can do all kinds of things with it in different ways, monitor it, and change it as you go. IUL cash value, that piece of it. It's based on the growth of the index. So whatever index it is tied to, again, it mirrors the performance of that index to certain extents. Downside protection. This is part of that certain extents I'm talking about. It doesn't go negative. Zero is your hero. So the downside protection is if that index that it's tied to tanks and loses 30%, it stops at zero in almost all cases, and sometimes a little more than that, but um, basically zero is your hero, and you always want to point that out. You don't take a loss on that aspect of it. Oop. Um, Cap and participation limits. So that's the other side of the uh, limits on the index growth and what it and performance and what it does. So if that index on the upside goes up 30%, okay, there's usually a cap around 10 to 12. So you'll attain the 10 to 12%. Uh, Not bad, especially considering you're not going to take a ride to the basement if something like that happens. What an IUL is versus what it is not. So it's meant for permanent life insurance. It's a cash value growth product so that you can get cash accumulation for hopefully for retirement. Oftentimes you can have living benefits, so you can access your death benefit even if something were to take place where you qualify for that. So it's got good living benefits, and it's a great retirement supplement. If you design it properly, you can get income uh, even up to life tax-free, and we'll show you how to do that. IUL is not an investment. In fact, you're not even supposed to say it's an investment. You're not supposed to use that term because it is not invested in the market, and you're quite often not licensed to do that. So don't talk about investments. It's not a replacement of a 401k or other investments. You can move money around from one investment bucket to another, and this would be one of the options for sure, but it's not meant to replace such things, and you shouldn't approach it that way. And it is not some hot new trendy product. Been around since the 80s, I believe, and done very well in most cases during that time. So it's tried and true. Okay, so two basic approaches. I said I'd show you how to do two different ways of presenting it and approaching the IUL concept. So keep it simple. You'll understand it. Your clients will understand it, and it makes perfect sense. Uh, the death benefit IUL, solve for a target premium or even less, and your client shouldn't be using the cash value in these policies because it can turn things upside down real quick if they start taking a bunch of cash value out of it. It's more for the death benefit itself. Or you can do the maximum cash value IUL. I love this approach, by the way, big proponent of that. But you reduce the death benefit, you get minimum, uh, and you make it increasing in most cases. You maximize the cash accumulation, and then again, it's usually an increasing death benefit. So that minimum death benefit increases as you go along, and provides a safety net of the death benefit, the insurance involved. Good, the bad, and the ugly of this. Uh, the good is permanent death benefit. You can leave a legacy. It's always there. If your plan doesn't work out and you don't survive over 20 years into retirement like all of us want to do, then there's the death benefit, and it will go tax-free to your beneficiary, your family, assuming. And up to age 55, it works very well for maximum cash value. Someone just asked me the other day what age brackets you're talking about. They had a 49-year-old. I said, okay, that's just fine. We can make that work, even up to mid 50s. Mid to high income, looking for tax-free retirement. Um, Good idea. They've got some assets. They've got some funding to attribute to this, and they can make it work very well for them. Uh, Diverse portfolio. So they've got other buckets. Like I said, they've got other vehicles for retirement, and this can be one of them. It is bad if you present it, not you, if one were to present it as a get rich quick scheme. If no other assets or investments are involved with your client, probably not the best first thing and only thing, basket egg kind of situation to put it in. And if they want to contribute very little and access a lot immediately, that will turn it upside down and implode the process real quick. So you don't want to do that. Basic design elements. Okay, so just the two different approaches. Hey, if you do a higher death benefit, you're going to get a lower cash value. If you do a lower death benefit, you can maximize the cash value and accumulation and drive that vehicle that way. Non-guaranteed cash value is usually illustrated about 6 to 7% these days. There's rules and regulations in place now, so you can't give them the pie in the sky, uh, whatever they were doing in the past. They used to give just outrageous illustrations that were yeah, not realistic. Let's put it that way. So now it's very realistic. It's very realistic the way you present it, and it's easy to imagine it taking off the way you're illustrating it. Popular indexing strategies such as the S&P 500. I named the S&P 500 specifically because everybody knows the S&P 500. It's been around forever. You can look at its history and its performance and at least be aware of it and confident in what it's going to do. There's no guarantee, past performance, future performance disclaimer, of course, but at least you're not giving them some new fancy shiny strategy in indexing that they've never heard of. The cap is usually around 10 to 12%. We talked about that. If it goes up 30%, whatever. Okay, so you get 10 to 12, not a bad thing. Again, the floor of 0%. Zero is your hero. You don't take the loss. So a very conservative IUL would have the higher death benefit. It will generate a lower cash value. It's not going to accumulate cash value at any accelerated rate. It's pretty conservative. And sometimes you can even get a return of premium rider if you do a what's called a protection IUL. There are those that in certain years of the policy, you can say, hey, I'm done with this. I want to get off the ride and take my money with me. And you can take whatever you put in as premiums and surrender the policy. So another safety net. Going to give you a sample illustration that I ran for a very conservative one and what happens when you do it this way. So this is somebody, 45-year-old, putting in $500 a month into the plan. And over here on the right is, again, I said, what would I say, 6 to 8% they'd illustrate, and this is 7.02. So right in that sweet spot. Only $500 a month, but a higher death benefit, 400,000 in a death benefit, and it's level. Very conservative. This is a person who's probably more concerned about the $400,000 death benefit than anything else. But that big red square in the middle there, rectangle actually, geometry needs to kick in, sorry. And so the cash value doesn't accumulate. In the first few years, it doesn't accumulate at all. And then pretty slowly after that. So what is the outcome when you do that? Well, after 20 years, the person's 65 because they been putting in $6,000 per year, easy math. They put in $120,000 in the cumulative premium. And then, okay, they're going to take distributions because they're retired. They're going to stop paying on this and they're going to start taking out loans. Good idea. They'll get 20,000 a year, but I go to the next slide, you can see that money runs out basically in 10 years. So to age 75. So they go age 65 to 75, taking these distributions tax-free. There's nothing bad about that, right? They got $200,000 out of it and they only put in that 120. But nothing exciting. So let's make it a little more exciting. So if you do a more aggressive cash value accumulation, IUL, you do a minimum death benefit to attain a maximum cash value. You have an increasing death benefit because it started out as minimum, right? You want a better safety net as you go along. And in this particular example that I'll show you, we're doing the S&P 500 index again, in part because it's performed well and everybody knows it and it's been around. So same thing, 45-year-old male, he's putting in $500 a month, but instead of 400,000, he starts at 100,000 death benefit over here in the right-hand column. And it's increasing, so you can see it increase over the years as it goes down. Yeah, it starts at 100,000, but that's not really the point, is it? The point is the cash surrender value in this column. You can see from first year, it's $1,500, and then it keeps going up from there. So it's immediately attaining some cash value. It's accumulating cash value as it goes on, and so that same strategy and approach results in this. Same thing, same amount of money put into it after 20 years. They're 65 years old. They're ready for a retirement. They put in $120,000. They're going to start taking the tax-free loans, uh, the participating loans in the policy for distributions at age 66. They stop paying on the policy and they start taking the 20 grand each year. Not a bad supplement. For your retirement income and whatever other investments you may have. But next slide, it lasts 20 years. It goes all the way to age 85. They're still taking that $20,000. So clearly, that's quick math, $400,000 return on the $120,000 premium that he put into it. You can't beat that, especially when you consider the fact that it is tax-free, you're taking out a loan, you're not paying it back, and uh, again, we're just talking about the S&P 500. It's the high cap. You can do any number of things. It's very flexible. There's lots of options. I would say consider them all, but initially going into it, S&P 500 is a really good one. You do a high cap index, which is usually an option on these policies. It's typically, again, between 10 and 12% cap, and it's got a long history that anybody can look at and be comfortable with, or more comfortable with at least, because they started in 1957, and there was a different version of it even prior to that, going all the way back to the 20s. There's another option where you can do, and I recommend nothing more than 20% of the money be tied to Barclays, BlackRock, Paysetter. There's other ones, flashy, higher performance, at least illustrated performance, and they're new. They're flashy. They'll tell you, oh, you'll get this, you'll get that, and there's all these benefits to it that make it look really good, but keep an eye on those. And again, don't put more than 20% in there. Be conservative in your approach to those because they don't have the history to fall back on and to rely on. They might do great, but we'll see what happens. Key client conversations. Always explain the floor. That's the zero, so that they know that they're not going to the basement. They're just going to ground floor, and they're getting out of that downward elevator at that point. It is security financially. The importance of proper funding and monitoring. This is not something that you should set and forget. You should always monitor it. As the agent, you should be doing annual reviews with your clients whenever possible. Take a look at it, give them an in-force illustration, show them what their policy is literally doing, how it's really performing, and talk to them about anything they might want to change about it. If they want to change the premium, they can put less money or more money into it. In most cases, it's pretty flexible as far as the premium. They can change the index options. They can put more money into one that's performing well or they expect to perform well, and so forth. So you want to take a look at that. There's the index options I talked about, and talk to them about the participating loan, how it works, and why it works. I'll tell you right now why that is, because you've heard me mention a couple times now that they can take these distributions in retirement tax-free. People like to talk about tax deferred. It is that. It's a tax advantage kind of approach to things, but it's literally tax-free if you do it right. And you want to be able to explain that to them because they're probably not going to believe you when you say that. So here's how. It's a loan. So it's money that you're borrowing against money that you put in there. So the collateral is the cash value of the policy. It's already in there, so there's not much risk as far as taking a loan. It's not under any of the taxable income categories. To be taxable income, it has to be earned. This isn't earned. It's money you put in there and you're taking a loan on your own money, so to speak. It has to be passive income. That's like rental income or anything like that. Like if you have rental properties, it's not that either. And it's not an investment. We already talked about that. It's not invested in the market. So it slips through the cracks in the best way. So you take income for 20 years to life, tax free, you're taking it as a participating loan, and you don't pay it back other than the fact that your death benefit is decreasing at that point to satisfy the loan at your demise. At which point you're not going to be complaining and you will have lived a good retirement. And always remember, be a trusted advisor. You want to ask your clients certain questions, and you want to present in certain ways, and you want to provide them the best service and do what's best for them. It's really easy in a lot of respects to be an insurance salesman. It's more difficult to be a trusted advisor. And so if you ask questions, if you're not typically a life insurance guy, for instance, and you take care of their homeowners and car insurance and whatnot, at some point, please ask, hey, now that we've taken care of that, what are you doing about life insurance? Because I promise you, if you don't ask them, it's going to be on their list to go take care of right after they walk out of your office. And that next guy that they ask about life insurance will then say, what are you doing for your homeowners and your car insurance and everything else? And they might take the whole bundle from you and you lose a client. You don't want that. What are you looking to achieve? And please let me show you how I can help you achieve those goals. Very important. You're not pitching anything. You're discovering who your client is, what they're doing, what they're trying to do, what their pain points are, and offering solutions. So you ask that question, what are you looking to achieve? And you be quiet and let them tell you what they're looking to do and what means they have to achieve that. And then you say, given your goals, let's do this and this and this, and you've got solutions. Again, that's being a trusted advisor. Based on what you've told me, this strategy could be an extremely smart move for you. If that's a fact, tell them that. Make sure that they're aware of that. You're working in their best interest. I have clients in your same situation that have done extremely well with this strategy. Again, that could be or should be true, and you should be able to give them examples. Say, I know a guy, I got a guy who did this, and give them an example that speaks to their specific situation so that they know, okay, I'm not the only one that's seeing this and seeing potential and considering this, and others have done it already and it works. But of course, only do that when it's true and you've got a real example. Uh, Good stories like that sell. And at the end, you want to say it's a call to action. If I can help you achieve your specific and name them specific goals, are you ready to get started today? And that's a closed-end question. That's a yes or no. And usually, if you've addressed all these things, you've identified their strategies and their goals, and you've given them trust in your approach to it and your solution, they're going to be ready to go. Now, just an overview on Penny, again, going right back to how Chris started this webinar. Why work with Penny? Okay, there's a lot of reasons. I put it in one slide. We have an A team, and A team is our application team specifically. So when you submit an application to us, you basically put in what I call a universal application request form. It's a drop ticket, and it goes to our application team. And our app fulfillment team takes it from there. You can, with confidence, tell your client, my life insurance application team will be contacting you. Please be on the lookout for a phone call and an email. In vast majority of cases, it's going to be both. And Mr. Client, either go onto that email, click on the link and finish your application and submit it with like a e-signature, or pick up the phone and do a phone interview and complete the interview with a voice signature. Either way, that is critical because that's what gets your application started, and then we take it from there. So all our services and tools are free to use when you're contracted with us. You get all the benefits of our application fulfillment team, our delivery team, which will deliver the policy once it's approved and issued. And we also have our own internal underwriter who will help you with challenging cases. Somebody has health issues, or maybe they've gotten declined or gotten rated with another carrier. And you say, what is the solution? Mike Woods. We've got Mike Woods. And our internal wholesaler who can run all these illustrations that I just showed you examples of, anything complex, whether it be long-term care or DI or these IUL illustrations that we're talking about. We have our own internal wholesaler. That's Paulette, and she probably ran those that I showed you earlier. All at no cost. And that universal application form I touched on. It's the same. It's the same application, no matter which carrier you quoted, whatever you're submitting. You click on that universal application request form, and that drop ticket looks the same. You'll get used to it after the second time you do it, third time maybe. I don't know. It's very, very quick. It's very, very easy, and it doesn't change and throw you curveballs with weird questions. You just fill it out, submit it, and then say, Mr. or Mrs. Client, my application team will be contacting you, as I said. Overall back office support. If you wish you had that team that could handle your applications, run illustrations, answer client questions, e-signatures, all these things, I could go on and on. We do all that. We take care of the detail-oriented, time-consuming tasks so that you can focus on your next sale and work your book of business and maintain your book of business and your relationships. Maintain the ones you've already established and establish new ones. I think Chris did well on describing that at the beginning. And that's what I had for you. Thank you so much for attending. And there's all my contact information. If you need anything, please reach out. I'm happy to help with any cases you might have, if it's specific or just general things.